Remember when the whole world couldn't stop talking about the Epstein files? Names, connections, powerful people. Then, within 72 hours, it was gone. Not solved, not explained, just replaced by breaking news from the Middle East. Remember the banking collapse of 2023? Gone in a week. Remember when everyone was certain there was a new pandemic starting in India? Biological weapon. Millions of deaths. The next COVID. Ask yourself, when did you last think about it? 3 stories, 3 moments when the whole world had one thought. And then, nothing. So here's the question. Nobody asks. Who decided what comes next? Every minute the world produces more information than a human brain can process in a lifetime. Look at the global news cycle over the last few years. A scandal, a war, an election, an economic crisis. Every story feels like the most important thing in the world, until it suddenly isn't. There is something strange about how public attention behaves. It moves like a spotlight, illuminating one place, then suddenly jumping somewhere else, and the previous story fades almost instantly, as if it never happened. When people try to explain this pattern, they usually end up with 3 suspects. Suspect number 1, conspiracy. Hidden groups manipulating global events from the shadows. Suspect number 2, the media system itself. Corporations competing for attention in a global information market. And suspect number 3 is something much closer to home. You, your brain. By the end of this story, we'll see which of them is really running the machine. In a previous episode, we talked about apophenia, the human tendency to see patterns where none exist. But there is a mirror problem. Sometimes we fail to notice patterns that actually do exist. The spotlight moves. We follow it. And we never look at who is holding the light. So let's look. Starting with suspect number 2. But before we go further, a quick test. Look carefully at what's on screen. Your task is simple. Count how many times the word war appears. Ready? Watch closely. Did you count them? Good. Now, here's the real question. Did you notice the astronaut walking through the screen? You did. Smart. You were expecting a trick, so you found it. But while you were looking for the astronaut, did you notice the logo in the corner changed color? Twice. Attention is a zero-sum game. Every time you focus on one thing, something else disappears. The question is, who decides what you focus on? Most people completely miss it, even when they're looking straight at it. This is not a trick. This is how attention works. Because if someone knows where your attention is pointing, they also know exactly what you won't see. This experiment has been repeated thousands of times in psychology labs, and the result is always the same. When attention is focused, reality disappears. And suspect number 2 has known this for a very long time. In 1988, linguist and political thinker Noam Chomsky and economist Edward Herman proposed a model that tried to explain how news is filtered before it reaches us. They called it manufacturing consent. The idea behind it was deeply uncomfortable. The media does not simply report reality, it selects which reality we get to see. Imagine news as a factory. The news you see is filtered, not once. Ownership, advertising, sources, pressure, enemy. Owned by interests, wealthy families, large corporations with agendas. Funded by advertisers. Someone pays for what is shown. Fed by power, Pentagon, FBI, PR budgets that don't answer questions. They frame them. Silenced by pressure, complaints, lawsuits, black PR, everything available to suppress an undesirable story. Driven by fear, there is always a threat, always someone to fear. The face changes, the function stays the same. None of these filters require a conspiracy. They function automatically, like a system, like a machine. The machine doesn't need a secret room. It just needs an algorithm that rewards rage over reason. These aren't 5 rooms. They are 5 layers of glass between you and the truth. And almost nothing has changed since Chomsky wrote those words 37 years ago. If this model is correct, the machine doesn't need a conspiracy. It simply runs on incentives. But this still leaves a question. Why do some stories spread faster than others? Why do certain headlines capture millions of minds at once? To answer that, we have to look at suspect number 3. Suspect number 3 is older than television, older than newspapers, older even than civilization itself. The human brain. Human attention isn't random. It has vulnerabilities. And over time, media systems have learned to press 3 buttons that are almost impossible to ignore. Fear spreads faster than information, urgency shuts down careful thinking, and spectacle keeps people watching. War, scandal, disaster. These are not just events. They are attention magnets. Engineered or not, they work the same way. But why? Why does bad news travel faster than good? Why do we click on crisis before calm? Psychologists call it negativity bias. Your brain processes threatening information 3 times faster than neutral or positive news. This wasn't a design flaw. It was a survival feature. Imagine your ancestor moving through tall grass. A slight movement above, something hanging from a branch, snake or vine. The ones who froze and looked twice survived to have children. The ones who thought, probably just a vine, sometimes didn't make it home. Some researchers believe this single pressure, the need to detect snakes before they detect you, shaped the primate brain over millions of years. Your visual cortex, your pattern recognition, your tendency to see threat before you see anything else. All of it, potentially, a gift from the snakes. The snake is no longer in the grass. It's in the glass rectangle in your hand. Your phone is a 24/7 predator simulator. So we inherited a brain that is permanently on alert, scanning for danger, prioritizing threat. And in the modern media environment, that same ancient mechanism makes you click on war before peace, scandal before resolution, crisis before calm. Your attention isn't being stolen. It's being seduced by a brain that evolved for a world that no longer exists. But there is a reason you can't just switch it off. It's written in your hardware, and this makes the system almost impossible to resist. When fear appears, your brain reacts before you can think. And a reacting mind doesn't ask questions. Like, who decided this was the story today? And what story am I not seeing right now? Here is the paradox of the modern information age. We have never had access to so much information. And yet, we rarely see the structure that determines which information reaches us. We are swimming in data and dying of context, which leaves us with an uncomfortable possibility. What if the machine controlling public attention is not controlled by anyone at all? At the beginning of this video, we had three suspects: conspiracy, media power, and the human brain. The verdict? Guilty, all three. The conspiracy doesn't work without the media. The media doesn't work without your brain. And your brain was never designed to resist it. The only question that remains: do you know you're inside the machine? Which is why the best metaphor for all of this isn't a conspiracy board. It's a magic trick. Magicians understand something important about human attention. To hide the trick, you don't need to conceal it. You simply redirect the audience's focus. Give them something bright to look at, something urgent, something that triggers the amygdala. And while they're watching that, the real move happens somewhere else. Modern media systems work in surprisingly similar ways. And here is the uncomfortable part. Everything you saw in this video followed the same rules. Fear, urgency, spectacle. Your attention was guided by me. The closer you look, the less you sometimes see, unless you know where to look. And now, you do. You just watched a story about systems that run on attention. Every click is a vote, so choose carefully what you make visible next. Subscribe to Parallax Lab, not because I asked you to, but because you've decided to see what's behind the next layer.